गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। चिन्मयं व्यापि यत्सर्वं त्रैलोक्यं सचराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। भवानी शङ्करौ वन्दे श्रद्धा विश्वासरूपिणौ याभ्यां विना न पश्यन्ति सिद्धाः स्वान्तस्थमीश्वरम्। Harihi Om. Before we venture into the topic, we will have a Namasmarana and I request those of you who are comfortable in repeating after me may please do so. Generally, we have Namasmarana connected with or related to Bhagavan. This topic is a kind of unique in connection with the Gnana-Yajnas that Chinmaya Mission conducts generally. It will be related either to a scripture or any other spiritual text, but this time it is connected with a great Mahatma and his essential values. But of course, all of his essential values are connected with scriptures only. It is an indirect way of looking at the scriptural knowledge through the viewpoint of a great personality. Since the topic is connected with Mahatma Gandhi ji, this Namasmarana also will be connected unto this great soul, depicting his unique qualities. So may we focus our mind onto that great giant who showed the path of freedom and also the path of truthfulness, dharma, ahimsa, love so on and so forth. सत्य धर्म व्रताय सत्य धर्म व्रताय महात्मा जाति पिता महात्मा जाति पिता करुणारस हृदय करुणारस हृदय महात्मा जाति पिता महात्मा जाति पिता सत्य धर्म व्रताय महात्मा जाति पिता करुणारस हृदय महात्मा जाति पिता अहिंसा गुणगामी अहिंसा गुणगामी महात्मा जाति पिता सहनशीली शांत प्रेमी सहनशीली शांत प्रेमी महात्मा जाति पिता महात्मा जाति पिता स्नेहशीली द्वेष रहित स्नेहशीली द्वेष रहित महात्मा जाति पिता महात्मा जाति पिता त्यागशीली तपस्वी त्यागशीली तपस्वी महात्मा जाति पिता महात्मा जाति पिता सदा राम नाम व्रत सदा राम नाम व्रत महात्मा जाति पिता महात्मा जाति पिता सदा लोक सेवा व्रत सदा लोक सेवा व्रत महात्मा जाति पिता महात्मा जाति पिता दया प्रेम मया बापू दया प्रेम मया बापू दया प्रेम मया बापू महात्मा जाति पिता महात्मा जाति पिता सत्य धर्म व्रताय करुणारस हृदय अहिंसा गुणगामी सहनशीली शांत प्रेमी स्नेहशीली द्वेष रहित त्यागशीली तपस्वी सदा राम नाम व्रत सदा लोक सेवा व्रत सदा राम नाम व्रत सदा लोक सेवा व्रत दया प्रेम मया बापू दया प्रेम मया बापू महात्मा जाति पिता महात्मा जाति पिता। The glory or the greatness of an individual lies not only in the deeds but mainly in the way in which one thinks, one views the world around oneself, one relates to the beings in this creation, one's attitude towards the fellow beings in the society, in the community, the wishes, the ideals of the individual, they all depict the greatness. For some individuals, the title brings the glory, and in some very rare individuals, the individual brings glory to the title. In the case of Mahatma Gandhi ji, the word Mahatma gathered greatness because it is associated with Gandhi ji. He was great even before he was given the title. When we see how he thinks, that really surprises us. As few of the Westerners expressed their opinion so high and so great about Gandhi ji, that we ourselves also may not be able to look at Gandhi ji in that way. Once Mahatma Gandhi ji said about the world, the very creation, and in the Vedantic terms, the substratum of the creation, the adhishthanam of this Jagat, and the one who is making everything happen in this creation. Mahatma Gandhi ji said, I do dimly perceive that while everything around me is ever changing, ever dying, while everything around me is ever changing and ever dying, there is underlying that change, there is underlying all that change a living power that is changeless. This is an Upanishadic statement. It is like that, but this has come from the experience of Mahatma. When he saw the world around, he recognized that everything around him is ever changing, ever disappearing into the death. But he also recognized that underlying all that change, there is something which is a living power, and that is changeless. One who recognizes the changelessness in this world of change has recognized the very essence of this universe. And Gandhiji says, and it is that living power which is changeless holds all of us together. Every single thing in this creation is held together by this living power which is changeless. And continuing further, Mahatma Gandhi ji says, this very living power which is changeless creates and then dissolves and afterwards recreates. He is talking about the creation, the sustenance, the dissolution, and again creation. Who is doing that according to Mahatma Gandhi ji? It is that living power which is the changeless. And Gandhi ji says, this informing power or spirit, he calls it as God, Bhagavan. So this living power which is changeless, which creates, which sustains, which dissolves, which again brings back everything into creation, is called as God. And a very important thing he says after that, Gandhiji says, God alone is real. And he also proves this point in his own unique way. He says, everything I see merely through my senses will not persist, cannot persist. Meaning it will not remain the same. He says, since nothing else I see merely through the senses can persist or will persist, it will not remain the same. It will not remain also. It will vanish, it will disappear, it will go out of existence. Everything that I see through the senses, I perceive through the senses, will vanish, will disappear, will not persist. So, therefore, he says, I say that God alone is real. That divinity alone is real. That changeless living power alone is real. Everything else is not real. Because everything disappears and vanishes. It cannot remain. And what remains amidst all these changes is God alone. So God is that changelessness. A rishi of the Upanishads and Mahatma Gandhi ji in thinking, are they not alike? It is like an experiential Upanishadic statement coming out of this Mahatma. Seeing that changeless, recognizing the changeless, knowing that changeless is actually being one with the changeless. When we come to see various life incidents, then we will come to understand that Mahatma ji knew what is the reality, what is the truth, and there was that strict adherence to the principles he held on to, uncompromisingly. And he further says, this living power which is changeless is benevolent power, is a power full of blessings. And why does he say that? He says, it is purely benevolent because I can see, in this Gandhiji's words, he says, I can see that in the midst of death, life persists. In the midst of untruth, truth persists. In the midst of darkness, light persists. In the midst of death, life persists. In the midst of untruth, truth persists. In the midst of darkness, light persists. Hence, Gandhiji says, I gather that God is life, God is truth, God is light, God is love, and God is supreme good. I have not added anything extra here. Exactly as Mahatma Gandhiji said, God is life, God is truth, God is light, God is love, God is supreme good. In the viewpoint of Mahatma Gandhiji, God is all this. All these are God, divine, divinity alone. He said, He is no God who merely satisfies the intellect. If somebody is trying to satisfy only the intellect, according to the view of Mahatma Gandhiji, he is no God. God, to be God, must rule the heart and transform it. Must rule the heart and transform it. And further says, this cannot be proved by external evidence that God rules the heart and transforms it. It cannot be proved, according to Gandhiji, by external evidence, but by a definite realization which is beyond all the five senses. A realization that is beyond the five senses, which makes individuals recognize the presence of God within. Change happens to their conduct and character. Mahatma Gandhiji says this. Those people who recognize the presence of God within, they undergo transformation. Their conduct changes, transforms. Their character changes, it gets transformed. By looking at their character and conduct, which went through the transformation, which goes through so much of transformation, only because they have perceived the presence of God within. This is the proof, according to Mahatma Gandhiji, that God, to be God, must rule the heart and transform it. Because when we look at great masters who have experienced the presence of God within, who recognize that presence of God within, everything in them changes. Their personality changes, their behavior changes, their outlook changes, their attitude changes, their wishes, wants, ideals, everything changes. They go beyond all worldly entanglements and attachments. So when everything changes, that itself is the proof that because they recognized the presence of God, divine, within them, everything underwent a change. They were transformed. This is the proof. Not outside, but inside. And that which happened inside automatically influences the outside. Automatically. When these great people who undergo this transformation, when they move around in this world, by looking at them, by interacting with them, by getting influenced by them, people also undergo changes. That is the proof that God is present in the heart. God rules the heart and God transforms the heart. And Mahatma Gandhiji is such a person who recognized the presence of God outside in the world of change and recognized the presence of God in every living being, in everyone. From his standpoint, all are equal. He never saw any disparity, any difference. Everybody he treated equally, to the core, and he recognized the presence of God within every living being, within himself, within every being, everywhere in this creation. What do you call such a person? In the light of the scriptural understanding, we have to say that such a person is an enlightened being. Even though in his own words he says, I am not there. Like Gurudev also was asked once, are you already there? There means there, in that state of highest realization. But Gurudev didn't want to create that gap between him and his listeners, followers, so on and so forth. Said, I am not yet. I am waiting for all of you to come. Then all of us together we will enter into it. So this makes people feel more closer. Otherwise they think, आप चले गए, हम इधर रह गए. Gandhiji says about his connection with Bhagavad Gita. When doubts haunt me and when disappointments stare in my face, and when I see not one ray of light on the horizon, doubts haunt me, disappointments snare or stare in the face, and when I see not one ray of light on the horizon, I turn to Bhagavad Gita and find a verse to comfort me. And immediately I begin to smile in the midst of overwhelming sorrows. In the midst of overwhelming sorrow, Gandhiji says he immediately begins to smile because he finds a verse in Bhagavad Gita that comforts him. Gandhiji said, my life has been full of external tragedies. And if they have not left any visible and indelible effect on me, I owe it to the teaching of Bhagavad Gita. When the life is full of external tragedies and they have not left any visible or indelible effect upon the person or the personality or the being, Gandhiji says it is only because of the teaching of Bhagavad Gita. His statements with which we started are Upanishadic, revealing the truth, and his strength and connectivity is related to Bhagavad Gita. In our spiritual parlance, Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita stand at the highest level. And what Mahatma Gandhiji says is the same. Today, it is the birthday of Mahatma Gandhiji, and also it is recognized as International Day of Non-Violence, and also Lal Bahadur Shastriji's birthday. We have to think in this way because we have to be reminded that it is so. One incident, there are many incidents like that in Gandhiji's life. When he went for the second time to South Africa, when he made a brief visit to India, initially he went from India to England to learn the law, and after that he came back to India. Then he got an invitation to work in the field of law in South Africa. So he went there, stayed there for a few years alone. He came back, met Gopal Krishna Gokhale ji, Lokamanya Tilak ji and others, all great freedom fighters, all great selfless individuals. And after that, he wanted to take his family along with him to South Africa. And he went to Durban and arrived in Durban on 13th January 1897. Before he arrived, there was some misrepresentation of facts in press. That time also it used to happen. What he never meant or never said was reported as Gandhiji said like this. Gandhiji made remarks like this about the whites in Natal in South Africa. So when he went there was already a crowd, a group of people who were waiting to take revenge on Gandhiji. All whites in South Africa, they all gathered together to take revenge. And you should see how Mahatma Gandhiji faced it, accepted it, and responded to it. That shows what he is within. The values, the principles, not merely talking about them or discussing about them or telling about them to others. There are many people like that. But he was a person who lived all of them. His living itself was preaching. Living every single principle and value. So then, that group started shouting, Gandhi has come, Gandhi has come. And then the message started spreading. And slowly, more and more people started gathering there. And the one who came to take Gandhiji to a particular place, a destination, also got frightened, because any moment this crowd can take the revenge and then they can attack Gandhiji. So slowly, few of them started pelting stones. Pelting stones, not flowers, not chocolates. Stones on Gandhiji. Brickbats, rotten eggs, and a couple of them came ahead and then pulled the turban which Gandhiji was wearing, snatched the turban and started battering him, and few started kicking him. This is not a movie story, a real life incident of Mahatma Gandhiji. When we see movies, such things happen, but there it is all direction, it is all action, but it is reality. This is the reality. People are pelting stones at him, brickbats, battering, kicking, pulling, pushing, all on Gandhi. People who came there, everybody is trying to involve and play a role. And he held on to the railings that were there in front of a house because he could not go anywhere. He did not say anything because even if you say, they will not listen. He just received. And then it was beyond his capacity to withstand, he fainted. And by that time, he again regained the consciousness. One of the police officers, superintendent of police there, Mr. Alexander, his wife, Mrs. Alexander, a brave lady who already knew Mahatma Gandhiji, his value system, his principles, she came and stood between the crowd which is trying to harm Gandhiji and Gandhiji. She stood in between and very clearly obstructed them from touching Gandhiji. A very brave lady. Of course, the wife of police superintendent, but still very brave. She stood there because she knew what Gandhiji stands for. And meanwhile she communicated, sent a message through others to her husband, Mr. Alexander. And then he sent the police force to prevent even more greater damage to Mahatma Gandhiji. And of course they came and they took him. And later on, this message went to the great leaders there. And afterwards, Mr. Ekombe said to Gandhiji, if you can identify the assailants, I am prepared to arrest them, prosecute them. Please recognize them. Tell me who are they. You know them because you are here since few years. You know them. Please tell, please recognize. And you know what Mahatma Gandhiji said? I do not want to prosecute anyone. What is the use of getting them punished? I do not hold the assailants to blame. He is not blaming them. Who can say this? Do you think an ordinary individual can say like that? After receiving all kinds of things, getting fainted, he could have died. You know, when the mob starts attacking a single individual, do you think they will calculate and then hit? They will do whatever they feel like. Destructive mind. They will destroy. In that, facing all that, Gandhiji says, I do not want to prosecute any one of them. What is the use of getting them punished? I don't hold assailants to blame. They were given to understand that I have made exaggerated statements in India about the whites. In his brief visit to India, the press reported that he made an exaggerated statement about the whites in Natal and defamed them by making false statements. They understand, they believe that that is truth. That is why they got enraged. Mahatma Gandhiji says, if they believed these reports, it is no wonder they were enraged. They believed these reports to be true, they got enraged. That is why they wanted to take revenge. How can they be blamed? Then he said to Mr. Ekombe, you leaders have to clarify to them. You should have clarified. But I am sure when truth becomes known, I am sure when truth becomes known, they will be sorry for their conduct. He said this, I am sure when truth becomes known, they will be sorry for their conduct. You know, one interesting thing happened. Gandhiji on the same day was interviewed by a leading newspaper there, Natal Advertiser, that very day. And in their interview with Mahatma Gandhiji, they also mentioned, they noted the point that Mahatma Gandhiji's refusal to prosecute the assailants. He refused to prosecute, they mentioned that in their report, in that interview with Gandhiji. And this, when it was published, it produced such a profound impression that all the Europeans of Durban felt ashamed about their conduct. Who said that? Gandhiji said, when truth becomes known, they will be sorry for their conduct. He didn't try. That was not the age of messages, Facebooks, Twitters, iMessages, Android messages. Not like that. That was not the age. Televisions. That was different age. But even then, Gandhiji relied on his principles only. If truth becomes known. He relied on truth, Satyam. It will be known because it is truth. It cannot be covered. It will be known. And when truth becomes known, they will be sorry for their conduct. And it became known. And that Natal advertiser published this. And then it also mentioned in their comments that Gandhiji and entire press supported this and said Gandhiji is innocent, and they condemned the mob and their activity. And this, all the people who participated in that also read. And you can understand what happened to them. Everybody felt sorry. Everyone felt that they did a mistake because they believed a false report, and they got enraged and attacked Gandhiji. And you know what happened afterwards? This enhanced the prestige of the Indian community in South Africa. One individual standing for truth, not prosecuting anybody, not holding them to blame, and just saying when truth will be known, they will only feel sorry. He had all the infinite patience, readiness to face anything. And finally, when the truth was revealed, it enhanced the prestige of Indian community in South Africa. Everybody got benefited. They started treating the Indians in South Africa with more respect and value because of this. And later afterwards, the work of Gandhiji became very easy. No. Please see, in the midst of such a situation, still to keep quiet, still to receive, still that preparedness to face the situation as it is, and trusting the truth, and truth is God, according to Gandhiji. That's what Gandhiji said, God is truth. If he is holding on to the truth alone will protect, the truth alone will save, the truth alone will safeguard. Ultimately that alone happened. He did not send any message to anybody. He did not call anybody. He did not say save, bachao. He did not say. The truth which he was holding on to, the principles which he was holding on to, that only made the individuals come forward, daringly stand between the crowd and Gandhiji, and then Mrs. Alexander standing them, preventing them from reaching out to Gandhiji. And thereafterwards, slowly, what happened? The press also took the interview. No recommendation used anywhere. Nothing. Everything happened. Who took care? That underlying changeless principle, which is the living power, which Gandhiji calls as love, supreme good, truth, life, light. That only takes care. Totally under its care, Gandhiji, completely under the care. And when we look at the common lot, we have to really scan to discover people who can hold on to the truth with that amount of faith and trust, and consider truth as God. Given a chance, nobody would want to hold on to truth. 21st century also truth, you think if you hold on to truth you can be successful? This is the idea of the people. Truth is truth anytime. Once it so happened that a person who was driving his car was also passing through a muddy road, and there was a mud hole and it was filled with water, so he could not see. Sometimes it so happens during rains we don't see the potholes there because it will be filled with water. Only when the car tires go into it, then only we understand the impact of it and effect of it. And sometimes the tires come out, sometimes they don't come out, or they come out totally. So what happened? This person, the tire fell into that mud hole and it got stuck. And then he was just looking around for help. A look-alike farmer, a person who was looking like a farmer, came there driving his tractor and then said, "Oh, you need help? If you give me 100 rupees, I will pull your car out of this." Because he had a tractor. So that driver in the car, the owner of the car, immediately agreed. "Yes, 100 rupees. Please take it and pull the car out." So he took it, and with great enthusiasm, he tied a rope to the car and as well as a tractor, pulled the car out of the mud hole. And as the driver was thanking him, and after he sat in his car, he was about to drive away from that place, this lookalike farmer said, "This is the 10th car today that I have pulled out. This is the 10th car." And that driver interestingly asked him, "Wow, what a great help you are doing. 10th car you pulled out today. If the whole day goes like this, when will you attend to your fields? When will you do the farming? Is it at night? Is it at night that you do farming and attend to your fields?" And he honestly said, "At that time I fill this hole with water. At night time I fill this hole, mud hole with water. And daytime when car tires get stuck there, I pull them out." He has his own ways of earning. Create an issue also and then act as a savior and then extract the money. There are people in various walks of life like that. They simply frighten, they simply threaten. Everything is going on well, smooth, fine, very comfortable, very nice. But they can't be happy because their value is not felt by others because they are valueless. So they want to frighten, suddenly show something which is not there. That is Maya. Frighten people, threaten them, and then again act as a savior. Because that is how they feel their presence as important presence. You see such people in various organizations, committees. Why? Because principles nahi hai. I want to be important. How? डराओ दूसरे लोगों को. Take them to fear, frighten them, tell what is not there. Falsification, and then make myself very important. You are frightened, then I will show you the idea, way out. They will never bring anybody out also because there is no need. Two lawyers went to a restaurant, a famous restaurant, ordered for some drinks, and afterwards they took out their bags, and from those bags they took out their lunch packets and started to open those lunch packets, and they were about to eat them. And then the manager there of that famous restaurant said, "Sir, you cannot eat your own food here." Meaning what? You have to eat our food in this restaurant. If you come here and then eat your food, what are we supposed to do? So you cannot eat your food here. This was the statement made by the manager. Both these lawyers looked at each other, shrugged their shoulders, and exchanged their lunch packets and said, "We are following your rule. We are not eating our own food. I am eating his food, he is eating my food." What can you say? And when he tried to argue, they said, "What is your statement? You said you cannot eat your food." That's what we are doing. Are we eating our food? No. How can you hold us responsible now for breaking the rule? Not. A rule can be followed truthfully also, sincerely, but a rule can be broken in a very different way also. But principled living is totally different. They just hold on to the principles, they just hold on to the values that they follow, that they practice. Once, a philosopher went to a doctor and said, I am undergoing lot of pain due to ill health, please help me. So the doctor conducted all the tests immediately and then brought all the reports and came and sat in front of this philosopher and said, a very good thing that you have done is you have come to me. And very nice thing that has happened is conducting all the tests. And even more good thing that has happened is I have all the reports. But now I have to tell you that you will live only as long as I count. Meaning what? I will start counting. By the time I finish this count, you will be no more. That is the bad news. Do you have any last wish? He asked. Then that philosopher said, one wish. What? You start counting backwards from 100 trillion onwards. The doctor was shocked. External situation can frighten or threaten, but internal understanding, internal stability based on the values and principles will give a different strength within. Once, Mahatma Gandhiji's secretary, Mahadev Desai, was reciting certain verses from the Bhagavad Gita. And Mahatma Gandhiji immediately said, Arjuna, who represents you and me, he told to his secretary and others who were there at that time, Arjuna, who represents you and me, asks Bhagavan Sri Krishna, the Lord within, how can one recognize a person who is aware of God every moment of his life? How can one recognize a person who is aware of God every moment of his life? And then Gandhiji continued to say, in his reply, Sri Krishna delivered 18 magnificent verses, unparalleled in the spiritual literature of the world, according to Gandhiji. These are the 18 verses connected with the second chapter of Sthita Prajna Lakshanas. Gandhiji holds them in high esteem. He said they are unparalleled in the spiritual literature of the world. And Gandhiji continued to say, he lives in wisdom, who sees himself in all and all in him. According to Gandhiji, and who is referring to the statements of Bhagavan Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he lives in wisdom, who sees himself in all and all in him. And Gandhiji continued to say, he who has renounced every selfish desire and every sense craving tormenting the heart, such a person is said to be living with steady wisdom. He is again referring to the sloka of the Sthita Prajna Lakshanas. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan pardhamanogatan atmanyevatmana tushtaha sthita prajnastadochyate. Partha yada prajahati sarvan kaman manogatan. O Arjuna, when a person gives up all the desires that are there in the mind, obtaining in the mind, atmana tushtaha atmani eva, by being independently satisfied in himself, tada uchyate sthita prajnaha, then he is called a wise man. All kinds of vrittis, all kinds of desires, when a person gives up, that are there in the mind, and one is independently satisfied in himself, atmani eva atmana tushtaha, and such a person is said to be living in the state of highest wisdom. And such a person lives always in that state of wisdom, whatever might be the external situation. Once it so happened that Mahatma Gandhiji was traveling in a very small train, uphill, which was going uphill in Darjeeling, the very hill station, and this gauge of the train was a narrow gauge. It's a narrow gauge train. And they were traveling. And there were few people along with Gandhiji, and one important person who was taking dictation of Gandhiji's letters, Pandit Sudhakar Chaturvedi, also was there along with Gandhiji. And after a while, they got to know, many people in the compartment started panicking, getting frightened, moving here and there, did not know what to do, because they got to know that when this train was going uphill, somehow, because of some fault, the engine which was pulling all the bogies up the hill got disconnected. The engine went away. And the entire train, without the engine, all the bogies, instead of going up the hill, what will happen? They will not stand there, because it is Darjeeling, steep hills, and started moving. Moving is there. Instead of going forward, it is moving backward. And slowly, this movement is becoming more and more, gathering more, gaining more speed. And nobody knows where it will end, because there are valleys, steep hills. It can derail any moment. It can fall into the valley any moment. All the people who are there on board in the train, they may get injured, they may get killed. And at that time, Mahatma Gandhiji was preparing to give dictation to Pandit Sudhakar Chaturvedi. Sudhakar Chaturvedi also got to know about all this. He said, Mahatma ji, you don't know what is happening? He said, what? The engine got disconnected. The entire train is going backwards. Steep hills, valleys. Anytime it can derail and fall into the valley. We will all die. It is a state between life and death. Nobody is there to stop it. And it is gaining speed. We will all die. And Gandhiji said, if we die, we die. If we die, we die. But suppose if we get saved. See the words of Gandhiji. If we die, we die. But suppose if we get saved, we would have wasted all this time. Can you think of a person like that? Einstein was right, because when time passes by, people will not believe that such a person was there in flesh and blood, living in the society. Einstein said this. So, Gandhiji said, if we die, we die. Suppose if we get saved, we would have wasted all this time. Why should we waste the time? Come on, sit, take my dictation. Baapre. Pandit Sudhakar Chaturvedi, later when he narrated this incident, others said his hands were trembling. What dictation he will take? He is ready to dictate, but he has to take dictation, letters, not wasting a moment of time. We heard stories about Gurudev like that. We have seen Gurudev like that, not wasting a moment. Look at Mahatma Gandhi ji. In that situation, which is between life and death, any moment there can be a death, but still the fearlessness, the focus on values and principles, even in that moment, not shaken at all by the news or the message that reached him. If we die, we die. What a courage. He faced death like that. Whenever he faced such deadly situations, he faced death like that. What amount of strength there must be within to say like that, to be like that, to do like that. No wonder Rabindranath Tagore ji called him a Mahatma. He is not an ordinary Atma. He is a Mahatma. Not because he brought freedom only, that also, but this also. His living itself is a teaching. Each incident in his life teaches something. Mahatma Gandhi's secretary, Mahadev Desai, at another point of time was reading another verse which Gandhiji liked. Dukkheshu anudvignamanaha sukeshu vigataspruhaha vitaraga bhayakrodaha stitadhir muniruchyate. Munihi, the discriminative person, vigataspruhaha sukeshu, who is free from longing with respect to the sources of pleasure. Vigataspruhaha sukeshu anudvignamana dukkheshu, and whose mind is imperturbed with respect to the source of sorrows. Anudvignamana dukkheshu vita raga bhayakrodaha, and who is freed from attachment, raga, fear, bhaya, anger, krodha. Uchyate stitadhihi. He is called a wise person. And in the life of Mahatma Gandhiji, he himself says a wise person is always in equanimity. And in the year 1944, on February 22nd, when all efforts of the people there proved futile, and his own wife, who was on the verge of death, when this message came to him, he told that day, "Today is the day of my trial, how I can maintain my equanimity. Today is the day of my trial, how I can maintain my equanimity." But while he was saying this, tears were rolling down his cheeks. Those tears are not because of any other kind of low-level emotion that we think, but it is out of the love, out of the gratitude, out of the respect, out of the gratefulness he feels for his wife. He said, "She was my companion for decades," because he was married very early, not even 20. He was. For decades he was my companion. She was my strength. Gandhiji was telling about his wife. She was my strength. She was my inspiration. And afterwards what he said means a lot. She took all my garbage. because Gandhiji did all kinds of experiments and she accepted. She took all my garbage, she took all my weaknesses. Truthfulness in Mahatma Gandhiji means about himself also he will talk truth only. What he is, what he was. Not like the people. Once they become public figures, whether it is in political field or any other field or even in spiritual field, they will paint their autobiography or their introduction in a very different way. They directly descended from heaven and appeared in Himalayas and came to bless the world. Gandhiji is not like that. He says what he is, what he was. No hesitation, truthfulness to the core. He said, she took all my garbage, she took all my weaknesses, and she swallowed everything. Whatever I expressed, she swallowed everything, and yet she stood by my side all these years. What a glory he is giving to his wife. She stood by me all these years, in spite of me giving all the garbage. She took all garbage, she took all weaknesses, she swallowed everything, and she stood by my side. And today, she will be no more. Meaning, it is not that he is not at all bothered about his wife and she is leaving and now he is in equanimity. No way. He is so grateful to his wife, so thankful to her, lot of gratitude, overflowing higher level of love-filled emotion, full of gratitude towards her. It is not out of attachment. It is not out of the pain of separation. It is a love of a different kind, a gratitude of a different kind. That is why Gandhiji was in tears. And then he said, these moments give an opportunity to personally watch within me, inside me, observe me, understand me, what is happening within me. I understand what is happening within me. This gives an opportunity to observe me, to look at my personality, and this makes a big difference in my life. And he told this to others. This makes, whenever an individual who is facing such tough situations looks within oneself, what is happening to oneself, how he is facing the situation, what that individual is undergoing, this brings major difference, a big difference in life. And this brought a big difference in life also. Because the highest teachings, unless they are practiced and tested within oneself, not outside, not for the sake of any award, reward, glorification, praises. And nowadays people are only for that, some praise, some recognition, some award, some reward. If there is nobody to give, they will only sponsor their awards and compel others to give. He never ever said anything for that purpose. Even Swami Chinmayanandaji was like that, whole life lived never for any award, reward, recognition. Never wanted anybody to praise, anybody to recognize. They are so happy in doing what they want to do and they enjoy it to the core. Because Atmani eva Atmana tushtaha. They are so contented, so happy, so fulfilled, not expecting anything, not wanting anything, not desiring anything, not wishing anything, except the good of the others, except the well-being of the others, except the progress of the others. Nothing else. The life of such great masters depicts a totally different spiritual living to all of us. We cannot even brand such a type of living as one of the gunas. Because externally we have to say it is Sattva Guna, Tamo Guna, Rajo Guna, but inside them, deep within themselves, these gunas also do not influence them. These gunas do not impact them. The mind is not fluctuating between prapta and aprapta like a common man. For a common individual, always the mind is fluctuating between what I have not gained and what I have gained. Constantly all actions are oriented towards that. I wanted to gain this, I have gained. Now once I have gained, I lost the interest in it. That loses the charm, that appeal. So I want to gain something more. I want to gain a new thing. Various kinds of states of thoughts, states of chitta, the bhumikas of the chitta. Most of the people, almost all of the people are under the influence of mudha bhumika, meaning to become one with the jada, the inert, and get influenced by the inert. Kshipta bhumika, the turbulent and wild, and also to think about the objects for the sake of the body. Vikshipta bhumika, full of agitation. It runs here and there, and whenever individual wants to meditate, it goes away. And there are also ekagra bhumika, to be tanmaya in one-pointed thinking, niruddha bhumika, withdrawing from all sides and halting that mind and taking that mind into the higher. Ultimately, they go beyond the first three, and finally even that other things also. There is no need for them to again get into any concentration, any ekagrata and any niruddha, because they see themselves in all in themselves. They see everything in himself in all. So from where they have to take the mind away, and what is there which is not divine in their understanding, so they go beyond even those things. Avidya has no place in them, ignorance. Asmita, egoism, cannot influence them. Likes, raga and attachment cannot impact them. Dvesha, hatred, cannot take roots in them, cannot find place in them. And abhinivesha, attachment, or in other words, deep rooted inside fear-based attachment towards the things one holds on to. That also cannot be there. And what will be there in them when these things, avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, abhinivesha are not there? There will be atma rati, atma trupti, atma tushti. Their pleasure when they derive from the self. The satisfaction if they derive from the self. The contentment when they derive from the self. Rati, trupti, tushti. Pleasure, satisfaction, contentment, happiness, joy, whatever it is, they derive from within. They are not dependent upon anything outside, and they hold on to that highest level of wisdom within themselves. That is why they are called as Sthite Achale Brahmani Prajnayasya Sthita Prajna. One whose intellect, one whose intelligence, one whose wisdom is rooted steadily in that highest truth or highest state, which is called as Brahman or Supreme Consciousness. One day, Mr. Jack walked into his house, breathless and exhausted. He walked into his house, but he was breathless and exhausted. His wife looked at him and asked, "What happened, Jack? What happened?" Jack said, "It's a great deal. From my workplace to reach the home, from my workplace to reach home, I ran behind the city bus all the way. I ran behind the city bus and reached home and saved for myself 5 rupees. Saved for myself 5 rupees. Because I ran behind the bus, saved the ticket." The wife shouted at him, "Why you always think so small? Why can't you run behind a taxi and save 500 rupees? If you had run behind a taxi, you could have saved 500 rupees for yourself. When the mind is not properly linked or connected to the right ways of living, it will think all kinds of thoughts in this manner. Once, a beggar who was really in need of some kind of donation was waiting near a place of worship. A very rich lady alighted from her Bugatti Veyron car, which costs only 38 crores. Bugatti Veyron, 38 crores. She alighted from the car. So this beggar went there near to that very rich lady and said, "Madam, I have not eaten for 7 days. Please respond. I have not eaten for 7 days. Please be kind to respond." That lady looks at him and says, "I wish I had your willpower," and goes away. He is asking for money to satisfy his hunger. She is looking at it in a different way. "I wish I had your willpower. 7 days without food." Even when we confront situations, unless that heart is there, we don't understand the actuality. Even though we see the situation, even though we listen to it, even though we think that we are understanding, but we don't really understand. Once a case of a psychiatrist came up before a judge. Somebody filed a case against the psychiatrist, and the judge looked at this defendant psychiatrist and said, "Where do you work?" He is asking the psychiatrist, "Where do you work?" And the reply is, "Here and there." "What do you do?" Second question. The reply is, "This and that." Where do you work? Here and there. What do you do? This and that. How are you? Fine and not fine. Then the judge understood the case and started writing his judgment. Then this man asks, "When will I get out? When will I get out?" The judge said, "Sooner or later." What will be the judgment you are writing? What will be the sentence? The judge said, "Life or death." If we have a confusion and conflict in the mind, the external world also reciprocates to that. If we involve with the same conflicting mind and interact with others, unless we get exposed to the values and the principles, if not of the scriptures, at least of the great masters who lived their life, who held on to these values and principles. One daughter is discussing with her dad, "Dad, my boyfriend was forcing me to let him inside my room in our house. My boyfriend was forcing me to let him inside my room in our house." And the dad became anxious and tensed, and he asked her, "Hope you did not lose your strength. Hope you did not become weak." She said, "Dad, I told him my father doesn't like this. He will get disturbed and annoyed. I can't allow you. My father will get disturbed and annoyed. I can't allow you. But he was forcing me, Dad. Again and again forcing me, Dad." Then the dad says, "Hope you did not succumb to that pressure." And this daughter says, "Dad, I am your daughter. How can I bring disturbance to you, Dad? And Dad was feeling very proud. Then she said, Dad, that is why I told him, let us transfer the disturbance to your dad. I will come to your room. And I went. Why will his dad will be disturbed? One thinks one is very intelligent in handling the situations, but one does not know unless that handling or analyzing or interacting is connected with values and the principles. One cannot really guide oneself and also others. What we see in Mahatma Gandhi ji is living the values with that indomitable courage inside. Nothing of the external world can influence him. If he holds on to something, he holds on to it. We will see each day the core values, the essential values which he practiced, meaning which he lived, and also because of those values he was able to influence millions of people and guide them towards the chosen goal. It will be a great revelation to all of us, this side of Mahatma Gandhi ji, and it will help us really to go deep within to ourselves and see where we stand in the practice of the values and living life according to the principles. Shri Ram Ram Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Ramanama Varanane Sri Ramanama Varanane Rama 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 सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम्। Within a short